Hello, and welcome to the Totally Schway podcast, a podcast about the DCAU and whatever the hell else I want it to be about. My co-host name is Luke.
And the host, whose voice you were just listening to, her name is Juan Sanchez Lobo Ramirez. No, it's Mary.
No, it's Mary. I mean, nothing against that name. It sounds like a really great name.
It's Sean Connery's character in The Highlander.
Okay. There can only be one.
Yeah, that's right.
See, I got there. I did that, and we haven't even cut the podcast yet.
Nope.
How funny. I actually got something. So, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you have any news for me today?
Yeah, so DC Animated Universe related news. Tiny bit.
Shut the front door.
Well, it's only loosely related in that it's more news about Todd McFarlane's.
As if this was a podcast about the DCAU.
Yeah, well, at this rate, it's starting to sound like a podcast about Todd McFarlane's toys.
Well, so does our storage unit.
Yeah. So he's released 2 new waves of Batman figures. The first one is a new Batman Adventures wave. I believe I touched upon it in the last episode. The release was delayed for undisclosed reasons, probably relating to tariffs, while Todd works out how much he should be charging people for them. Funnily enough, European retailers were able to pre-order them at the original release date.
Nice.
But the American pre-orders went live a couple of days ago, and it's Etrigan the Demon, the new Batman Adventures version of Mr. Freeze, and a silver version of Batman, who it's the new Batman Adventures character model, but with colouring from Batman the Animated Series, but kind of shiny metallic. It's an homage to I think it was an old Hasbro toy. Might have been a Kenner one, though.
I know a couple of people that live in Europe.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have great cats as well.
Yeah, and the other wave that he released is finally released the Bruce Wayne Build-A-Figure wave. So if you buy all 4 of the figures, they each come with a piece of Bruce Wayne that you can assemble together into a Bruce Wayne action figure in his massive double-breasted brown suit with yellow shirt in all its glory. He's also got a briefcase that's got the Batman costume in it.
Oh, wow. Is it like... Okay, so like... Here, let me unpack this.
Yeah.
Is it a cloth suit or is it plastic?
It's plastic. It's plastic. You can't put it on him. But
I'm going to try to put it on my little pinky.
But the figures in this wave are Hardak Batman, so the robot Batman.
Yeah.
With the messed up face and the exposed chest with all the wires coming out from his silicon soul.
Yeah.
Poison Ivy, the Phantasm, and Bane, all in their Batman the Animated Series style.
Everybody does that.
Unfortunately, they are Target exclusives, which means that they're harder to get a hold of. Fortunately, I have a good retailer over here that can sell them to me.
We don't shop at Target, guys.
No, I know. And Todd keeps releasing stuff through Target.
We live in England.
I mean, to be honest, it sometimes seems like he just doesn't want to sell stuff to people, because I imagine if they had a wider release, they would probably sell better. Because all I see in the social media posts whenever they announce this is people saying, my Target never stocks them, my Target sells out almost immediately, this isn't fair, wow.
They send like one, and somebody that works there gets it.
Well, that's I've seen that in the comments as well, saying that the staff hide them and then scalp them. But anyway, I've got a set through my retailer, a company called Comics and Cocktails, based out of the UK.
Hey, I know of them.
Yeah, because I order all of my Target exclusive figures through them. So yeah, I pretty much think that's the news. I mean, I suppose there was one other thing. It was Superman Day recently, and Mondo confirmed that they are doing a Superman the Animated Series line.
Superman?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
But Mondo are doing a Superman the Animated Series line, and they asked on their social media, which characters would you like to see? There was one correct answer.
You could show them my video, and instead of just put Mondo.
Why don't you re-release it and just dub it, and so it goes,
Mondo.
Hey, Mondo.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one correct answer that I provided them with was Lobo.
Lobo. It has to be the good Lobo too, like the...
It's the animated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm talking about not just the Lobo figure. You have to do the whole damn bike as well.
Oh.
What's the point of doing Lobo if you don't do the whole damn thing?
That's an excellent point. I mean, to be fair, any of the characters from that show.
Yeah, of course, but if you say Lobo, the bike is also a part of him.
Yeah, I believe they're releasing Superman in July to coincide with the Superman movie. But you can probably expect, maybe as many as 3 figures a year from them. Probably 1 or 2 though. And I think the obvious big hitters would be, Superman, Bizarro, Brainiac, Lex Luthor. I don't know how exciting a Estas Lex Luthor figure would be though, because he just wears his black suit.
I'm quite excited. You could have the mechanical suit that he has after he...
Oh no, that's Justice League. That's Justice League. You can't have that crossing over with Estas. Can't do that.
I always mix them up, but hey ho.
Well, yeah, I mean they're the same continuity, aren't they?
I'm excited.
I feel like I've been waffling on a bit now, so do you want to shut me up?
Well, we're going to be talking about something very interesting today. Speaking of Superman, the animated series, we first saw in the DCAU, I believe, we first saw Granny Goodness and Estas. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't think Granny Goodness was in Super Friends. I know Darkseid and Calibac were, and I think Darkseid was.
I was talking about the DCAU. What's Super Friends?
Super Friends predates it.
Sorry, but
yeah,
I'm just kidding. I know.
I know.
But in terms of the DCAU, I think we first saw her in. I had it written down somewhere. Yeah, so Lost Little Girl Part
Little
2.
Girl Lost.
Little Girl whatever. I'm thinking of the Ja Rule song. Lost Little Girl. No.
Well,
anywho.
There we go. If I ever do a video about Supergirl, then maybe I should get someone to do a cover of that song.
Oh, no. No.
I don't know anything about it. I don't care to know.
It is not appropriate for Supergirl. Yeah, we first saw her in that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take it back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing some subtitles for your videos, so I have written down some basic information.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, ChatGPT, for helping me out. Much love.
Oh, it might not be right then if ChatGPT said it.
I think for the most part, I think it is.
All right. Well, I'm prepared to correct.
Yes, exactly. That's part of the thing. Is I want you to correct me if we were wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Oh, sorry?
I was just going to say, you can actually have some fun little exercises with ChatGPT. Say, tell me what you know about such and such. And it'll just spew out a load of random nonsense. And you can just go, nope, that's wrong. Nope, that's wrong. That's wrong.
But somehow knows everything about me.
Well, maybe it doesn't. Anyway.
We need to go through this ChatGPT. I don't use it as often as I used to because... I used to use it to do grammar things, but I've got something else for that now. That's actually for that. So if only this were sponsored, and then I could put the name of it there, but it's not a sponsored video. I know, Apollo. I know.
They won't be able to hear him.
That's fine. Our cat just mewed. Okay, so let's talk about Granny Goodness. I'm going to give off some hopefully correct facts.
Okay.
So... obvious fact, a Jack Kirby creation.
Correct.
I don't know if she was created in 71, but it was 71 in Mr. Miracle number 2.
Yeah, so Mr. Miracle number 2 published in 1971. I believe it was. It might have slipped into 72, but early 70s. I'll give that a correct. And yes, it was Mr. Miracle number 2.
So this fact... I helped ChatGPT a little bit on this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. One of Darkseid's most loyal and sadistic lieutenants.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
So what I did was I added loyal.
Mm-hmm.
It was either loyal or something else. Anyways, she runs the quote-unquote orphanage on Apocalypse.
Yes, that is true. She does run the orphanage, Granny Goodness's orphanage for wayward children.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this isn't so much in the show as much as it, or whatever, but
it's mentioned.
Train the female Furies.
Yes, sort of. So Granny Goodness trains all of the children there, of which the female Furies are. They're the elite girls, like the best women in the...
ladies.
All the girls, ladies, yes.
Ladies.
in the among the orphans, and then they are sent on to special classes to develop their own unique individual skills.
Yeah. Big Barda's former mentor, or Big Barda's former mentor, if you're a Suits fan.
Okay. I haven't watched Suits, so
fine.
I don't get the reference. But I'm sure lots of people listening will be laughing hysterically.
No. I like Suits.
That's fair enough. I've never seen it, so I can't judge it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose that is accurate enough. Yeah, I mean, mentor sounds a bit strong, but
I remember what I helped ChatGPT on.
Mhm.
So the loyal and sadistic lieutenant was mixed in with this, so I made it 2 different facts.
Okay.
Brutal educator and master manipulator.
Yes. So the thing with Granny Goodness is that. So when Jack Kirby created like the New Gods characters and Darkseid and the people on Apocalypse, he was very much inspired by the Nazis and Richard Nixon. And those were his words, by the way. I'm not putting words in his mouth. He was very heavily leaned into their use of propaganda, where they often said things that were demonstrably false, but insisted that they were true. So, for instance, in Granny Goodness's case, her name is Granny Goodness, a kindly grandmother that nurtures and looks after children, is how she presents herself, when really she tortures them. There's nothing good about her at all. She is selfish and brutal. She's actually quite weak as well.
Yeah, most of them are.
Yeah, she doesn't really do very much fighting at all. It's always her minions that do all the fighting and the dying for her. But she sucks up to Darkseid, and she's been given a position of power.
Yeah. So the last kind of thing that I have here is voiced by Ed Asner and the DCAU. He gave the I can't say this.
Apocalyptian
Granny her gravelly voice.
Yes,
her signature gravelly voice.
Yes. What's funny is that I was told that Granny Goodness was inspired by Boris Karloff, who played in The Woman from U.N.C.L.E. He played a female assassin. I shared this in my Granny Goodness video, and you see Boris Karloff walking around dressed like an old biddy with a ginger wig on. It was quite amusing, but I could see the similarities to Granny Goodness there, just in terms of like the haggardness.
We like Ed Asner.
Yes, Ed Asner's great as well. And apparently when he saw the design for Granny Goodness, he said, "Oh, it's Barbara Bush."
I can see that a little bit, but not in a making fun of them type of way.
Yeah, well, apparently he played Granny Goodness as if he was impersonating Barbara Bush. So,
okay, I have to do the whole Google search about so I can actually see if I can talk about them. yeah, I can talk about Ed Asner.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, what a legend. And the thing is about Ed Asner as well is there are a lot of characters, not just here, but you might not know what Ed Asner looks like until you're reminded of how freaking funny he was and how absolutely amazing he was in film. Because sometimes he could, like, just by having a single emotion, he was one of those people that could literally change the way his face looked. And I find that it was such a great talent.
Yeah, he's one of those people who's got a very characterful voice. And he looks exactly how he sounds.
Yeah.
And of course, his first role in the DC animated universe was Roland Daggett in Batman the Animated Series. And that was a role, apparently, that he took a lot of pleasure in playing because Ed Asner was very critical of like hypercapitalism and corrupt industrialists. So he had a lot of fun portraying someone similarly weak and awful as Roland Daggett.
I think I remember me yesterday saying, I have a song stuck in my head, and I think it's from Mary Tyler Moore. It's like, she's gonna make it on her own. Do you remember me saying that when I was playing Minecraft last night?
Yeah.
I now know why I had that song stuck in my head, because I was looking up these facts on Friday, I believe, and every time if you don't know, Ed Asner was also a Mary Tyler Moore, which is, I think, if you're American anyway, you know who Ed Asner is because of Mary Tyler Moore, or because of the references from Mary Tyler Moore. And yeah, it's not a terrible song to have in your head. I don't know the rest of the lyrics, but I just want to flip my hat up and have it go freeze frame. I think it freeze framed.
Okay.
Yeah. But he was I think, along with Mary Tyler Moore, was like the best part of that show is their relationship together. Like, you could say friendship, but yeah. Anywho, it's just so cool that he went, like, his entire career is phenomenal. And then when you get to Granny Goodness, you realize, well, damn, he can do anything.
Yes, yeah, and famously he went on to play the main character in Up as well, which is a lot of people will know him from that.
Yeah.
I don't know if Roland Daggett was his first voiceover role. It might have been. I don't know for certain.
Not sure.
Because Andrea Romano was in their habit of hiring people actors who had distinctive voices, not people that could put on cartoony voices.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it may very well have been his first one. I know it was Malcolm McDowell's first animated role, and he went on to have a lengthy career in animation.
Dumb and Dumber, the animated series.
That was after Batman.
Was it? Oh,
yeah. And of course, he was in Gargoyles as well.
Yeah.
Would dinosaurs count?
No.
No. It's animatronic.
Yeah, no.
He's an Animaniacs. Mary's just scrolling through his IMDb. Highway to Heaven. Oh, there's a there's a show that used to be on.
Yeah, I think
Batman may very well have been his first animated role. But then he went on to have quite an illustrious career in animation. I know he's in Family Guy and American Dad. He does voices in that.
It's one of those people that you truly miss hearing them, because it's like a really cool uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back to Granny Goodness.
Yeah, right. Let's stop talking about Ed Asner. This ain't the Ed Asner show.
I've got 5 episodes written down in STAS. Little Girl Lost, Part 2.
She's technically in Part 1 as well.
Apocalypse Now, 1 and 2.
I think she's only briefly in Part 1.
She's in Part 2 as well.
I don't think so.
No?
No. I don't think so, because she's in the flashback showing...
We literally just rewatched this as well.
she was in the flashback showing, like, Orion's origin, where he gets swapped with Scott-Free, and she, like, holds up Scott-Free as, like, it's almost like a Lion King moment, where she's holding up the baby wrapped in the blanket. Because she wasn't in Part 2, because that was just Darkseid and Calabac invading Earth.
Okay.
But then she was in both parts of Little Girl Lost.
Yeah. And then in JLU...
You missed off one.
Oh, sorry. Legacy 1 and 2.
Yes.
And then JLU, The Ties That Bind, and Alive.
Yes, very briefly in Alive for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then completely vanishes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Dunzo.
Yeah.
See you next time I see ya. I was going to say, like, see you the next millennia, but I probably won't.
Did you get those episodes she appeared in from ChatGPT as well?
Yes.
So that's where the mistake lies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could not remember. And then sometimes on IMDb, they credit the actor or actress or the performer when they're not actually in the episode, I guess. Because sometimes on the last time on.
Yeah. I can see on IMDb here it says that Granny Goodness was in 4 episodes. Granny Goodness was not in 4. Granny Goodness was in 5. Little Girl Lost 1 and 2. Legacy 1 and 2. Didn't speak in Apocalypse Now. So maybe that's why Ed Asner wasn't credited. Okay, I'll accept that. I take it back, IMDb. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but sometimes I have noticed that it counts the recounts as well.
Oh, yeah.
So that might be where ChatGPT made a mistake.
Unbelievable.
We should talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not, I'll forget. So what was your favorite episode she was in?
Oh, well, that's tough. I really like Legacy, but not... Granny has a significant role in Legacy, but she's not the central point of the episodes.
I like the episode with Mr. Miracle and Barda.
The Ties That Bind.
Yeah. The reason being, not because she's in it less, because I like the character, Granny Goodness. It's because you can see what her manipulation and her brutality cause.
Yeah.
And you see that and how truly sadistic she actually was.
Yes.
And I think that episode just really gets it home there.
Yes, so when she kidnaps Oberon to force Mr. Miracle and Big Barda to do her bidding, she ties him up to a table that's got like these shears slowly coming down. It's a slow and arduous torture for Oberon.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume she's acting on the assumption that Barda and Scott will fail. Because she just leaves Oberon there with this machine coming down. And he's moments away from being killed, even after Scott and Barda turn up with what she had asked for, which was Calibac. So yeah, I don't know. Granny Goodness is wicked. She's mean.
Yeah. It's so cool how these TV shows do things like that without it being like, oh my god, she's sadistic, but oh, is she?
Yes.
Yes, she's sadistic, but because it's an animated show, you don't actually see it as much, but you know it is. It's not insinuated.
Implied.
Yeah,
it's a lot of it is delivered through the performance and the dialogue,
Yeah.
shift in tone. Because Ed Asner, when playing Granny Goodness, would speak very softly about kindly old Granny, and then just would flip to being like, and then you're going in the X-pit, making Mary wince.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a headache today.
Yeah. But yeah, that is really the Granny Goodness's whole thing, isn't it? That's the whole. I want to say appeal, but it's not the appeal. It's just basically her character in a nutshell.
Do you think that they truly served the Granny Goodness character?
Yeah.
From the comic books to the TV show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, it's a very faithful adaptation. The only thing that I will say is that in the comics, the female Furies were more loyal to Barda than they were to Granny. So when Barda left, the Furies went after her, not because they were trying to retrieve her for Granny, but because they felt like they'd been abandoned.
Yeah.
And when Barda explained what was going on, the Furies were like, oh, okay, well, we'll stick with you and Scott then.
Word.
Until Barda and Scott got married and got whisked away to New Genesis, leaving the Furies behind. So they ended up going back to Apocalypse, working for Granny. But Darkseid had implemented machines to do all of the torture and the murder, and they were very unhappy that their work had been replaced by AI, essentially. And that was in a comic book that was published in 1985, by the way. So, Jack Kirby, 40 years ahead of his time.
And still showing us that he was right.
Yeah, there is a very funny panel of the Furies all standing in the control room, and Lashina's like, these machines have taken our jobs. I used to like doing this role, and they're doing it for me. I don't like this anymore. What's going on? Apocalypse is going to the gutters.
So, is there anything that they left out of this character from the comic books?
I know a lot of people will go, what about Granny Goodness's origin, where she was one of the people that trained the dogs,
Here,
etc.
I'm going to stop you there, and I'm going to say this because there are a lot of shows that I've watched and movies that were based off of comic books or just books in general. Sometimes we don't need that.
Well, I'll tell you why it wasn't included. Because that is a modern origin that was assigned to her by different writers. Jack Kirby didn't give Granny Goodness an origin. He didn't really give a lot of his New God characters origins. They simply were beings that just existed. I think off the top of my head, there were 2 issues. One of the New Gods and one of Mr. Miracle that showed the origin of some of the characters. The issue of the New Gods was the origin of Highfather and the peace treaty between Apocalypse and New Genesis. So I suppose Orion and Mr. Miracle's origin as well.
Yeah.
And then the Mr. Miracle issue was how he escaped from Apocalypse with Barda's help. And Haimon. I know. Such an unfortunate name. I'm very careful in how I say it.
Unfortunate name.
But yeah, so that was kind of Kirby's thing, that these characters were supposed to be like these mythic things that just existed. And too many people are like want to write origins for them. Like there was one comic published a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago now, Jesus Christ, that talked about how Darkseid had been a poor farmer at some point in his life. And I was just like, no. Darkseid doesn't need a backstory. He should just always have been this eternal ruler of Apocalypse, and Granny Goodness is just one of his minions.
Hey, we love farmers here.
Yep, nothing wrong with being a farmer, but you know, Darkseid is like the embodiment of all that is evil in the universe.
True.
They have been doing some interesting stuff in the comics recently, actually, with Darkseid, because he essentially killed himself to create the absolute universe.
It's not cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, he still exists, but you know, it's in a different form. But because he's not in the mainline universe now, there are all these other characters trying to fill the void left behind. Characters that would have stayed away for fear of being attacked by Darkseid, knowing that he would destroy them. And something similar happens in the DC animated universe, which is why I bring it up. So when Darkseid gets killed in Twilight during Justice League,
yeah,
it leaves a power vacuum on Apocalypse, and Granny Goodness is one of the characters that tries to step up to replace Darkseid. The other one is Vermin Wunderbar, who is a very, very funny character.
Not one of my favorites.
No, he is absurd, but a lot of like the Darkseid's elites, they are absurd characters. Calibac's like this twisted beast boy. Granny Goodness is just a mean grandma.
A ninny.
A ninny noo. I love that expression, by the way. I think I've mentioned that before.
Several times.
Yeah, and then there's Kanto, who looks like he's walked out of the Tudor period. But yeah, Granny Goodness thinks that she could be the new warlord of Apocalypse, and that's kind of why she turns up in Justice League Unlimited, because she wants Big Barda and Scott Free's help to secure that position.
Sometimes we have to try things and accept the failures that the lessons that give us.
Sometimes you have to fail to learn.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and you mentioned that Granny appeared in Alive, which is one of the final episodes of Justice League Unlimited.
I mentioned that she was in Alive.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't include the exclamation mark. She'd only seen like riding one of those what are they called? They're like dragon tanks or something. And then Darkseid reappears and she vanishes. Everyone else is there bowing. It's kind of strange that you didn't see Granny there. I don't know what happened to her. It's probably just because they either didn't have the budget for, or he was not available. And by that I mean Ed Asner. But yeah, I mean, I think Granny's a very consistent character across all of the shows that she's in. And, you know, I mentioned earlier that I like Legacy because that's a story where Superman is corrupted by Darkseid and made to think that he's Darkseid's son and he tries to take over Earth. Yeah. But it's Granny, the one that had brainwashed him. and she kind of set the female Furies on him, specifically Lashina, to try and placate him.
Great name.
Yeah. Lashina is a good name. I think they all had great names, like Mad Harriet, Stomper, Bernadette. Bernadette is a great name. I don't think Bernadette was in Superman. She was in Alive, though. She was the one that's like, we will fight for Granny Goodness.
I mean, Stockholm Syndrome is a thing.
Yeah. And I guess the other significant thing with Granny Goodness in Superman the Animated Series is that she was given control of Intergang, and she turned it from, basically the Mafia, what it used to be, into like a twisted version of Peter Pan's Lost Boys.
Yeah.
She rounded up orphaned and disregarded children, promised them the world.
That's a great description, by the way.
Thank you. She promised them everything. They had toys, they had video games, they had music, they had food and drink, etc. Even they gave them a group to belong to, and a mother figure in herself, a very cruel mother figure, I would add. But really, she was just using them to get the equipment to build a machine that would summon an asteroid and to destroy Earth. So she was setting them up to basically destroy themselves. But I find it really fascinating that it's just such a great embodiment of just Superman's influence completely, because the Mafia turned into like this weird space army, all because Superman was there.
Yeah. It was a bit crazy. Like, I would hate to be the enemy of that gang. I don't know what they call it in the mob, because I'm definitely not a part of the mob. Never have been, never will be. And that's what I'm going to tell the CIA.
Yeah.
Or
Your Honor.
if they're still around in a couple of days.
Yeah, that's right.
So, in closing, what made you like Granny Goodness?
Well, I always liked Ed Asner's performance. But I really got into the New God stuff when I was doing research for the video on Darkseid. Because, I've always known about them. I think I mentioned this before. I as a kid, I didn't really respond very well to Jack Kirby's art. I felt like it was too square. It was very dynamic, but maybe a little bit too dynamic. Everybody looked really posed.
It was hip.
Well, yes, exactly. But in like the last year or so, it's like scales have fallen from my eyes, and I can see it for what it is. And while the dialogue always seemed weird to me, I got my head around it. I was like, oh, this is just kind of like a type of poetry. I get it now. And there's so much stuff that people think of when they think of comic books and the comic book medium, and it's all language that he developed. I mean, like visual language, not words. Things like having characters punching out towards the viewer almost. You have the playing with perspective, so it looks like someone's striking towards the viewer. He invented that. They never did that before he did that. And the more I've researched, the more I've come to appreciate it. One of the things I particularly like about Kirby is that he's a very modest man, and he's very open, or he was, excuse me, he's been dead for 30 years. He was very open about the things that influenced him. He never went along and just like, oh, I'm the genius that came up with this. No, he didn't at all. He was like, oh yeah, I saw this thing and it made me think of that. And then I thought, well, if I was going to do it, how would I do it? How would it fit in with this world? And then by the time I was done with it, it was a completely separate thing. But it was definitely inspired by this. And you should go and check that out because it's really cool. That's like the perfect form of homage and creation. Not going like, oh, well, I came up with this thing because I'm a genius, or oh, I was looking at a Joker playing card, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was a villain that was a clown? Bob Kane.
I feel seen.
Thing is, the comic book industry is full of people like that. And, as much as I like Stan Lee, he was very much like that. He downplayed other people's contributions.
I mean, I was thinking of him the entire time you were saying that.
Yeah, and Jack Kirby actually created a character that was a mock version of Stan Lee called Funky Flashman, who was Mr. Miracle's PR man, who would always take credit for just stuff he had nothing to do with.
Yeah, so Stan Lee was great.
Yeah.
But I do believe that creativity is shared.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, if you helped create something, you helped create something. It doesn't mean that you just created it yourself.
Well,
and you
yeah.
need to have the people. This is a big thing, especially like in television and literature, is if y'all ever write a book and somebody helps you write it, put their name down.
Mm-hmm.
Written by so-and-so and do-and-do.
Mm-hmm.
Not just so-and-so.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that Stan Lee says that he created, it was a dual effort, if not just a team effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not just it's not just a Stan Lee thing, but that's the example that I have at the moment. But it really sucks because now when you look at some of these characters that you're seeing coming out with their own shows or their own movies, you don't realize, because nobody says, that this was created by Stan Lee and it's just a Stan Lee creation.
They're getting better at it now, and I think actually in his later years Stan was a bit more gracious about sharing credit. And I don't want to dunk on him because
I'm not doing that, but it's
you're not. I know you're not, but I felt like maybe what I said might have been a bit dunking on him. I will dunk on Bob Kane though, because he was he paid people to do basically all the drawing for him, ghost artists, but then he signed it so that he could claim all the credit, even though it was very obviously not his art style. He drew like the first couple of appearances of Batman, and then he started farming it out when it made a load of money, which, you know, I don't begrudge him doing that, but the fact that but the fact that he didn't share any credit with people was just terrible. Even like towards the end of his own life, after Bill Finger, who came up with most of the memorable stuff about Batman, like the secret identity, the Batmobile, the Batcave, etc. Bob Kane refused to share credit with him until close to his death, where he said, "All right, I suppose Bill's earned the right to be listed as not even on the same level, but the credit is Batman created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger, not and with." And Bill Finger had died decades before, penniless, which is just obscene.
It takes nothing away from your creation to say that you didn't do it on your own. It takes nothing away from that. And the big picture here is there's no I in team, and spell all of the letters.
There's no I in Granny Goodness. I had to double check that.
So, no, there's not.
There is a Y though.
Literally just looked at this right here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Got massively off topic.
So, but it is kind of on topic because with a lot of these characters, especially from around this time, I think it's good to say these are the people that made these characters, rather than just saying, oh, this person created them. Because no, it wasn't just a person. A comic book takes a team most of the time.
Unless you're Jack Kirby, who was able to churn out 3 issues a month, filled with more ideas on a single page than most series had in an entire year. He wrote, edited, and illustrated pretty much all the books by himself. He did have inkers that did the inking for him, and he did have assistants that helped him out. That is true.
And this is why we say not all heroes wear capes. But I don't know if he did or not.
I don't think he did, no. He's more of like a polyester polo guy.
So, with that being said, we like Granny Goodness, although Granny Goodness is not a great character.
She's evil.
And when I say not a great character, I'm talking about the character itself is wonderful, but the
her actions are terrible.
Yeah. And Ed Asner, legend. Jack Kirby. I mean, it's Jack Kirby. Come on. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like perhaps we've what's the word I was going to say? I was going to say outstayed our welcome, but that's perhaps a bit too harsh.
Let's get to the comments. Okay, there's a comment on here.
Is there?
Yes, that is about. You could put. It's the first chunk of War and Peace.
Ah, yeah. Well, this is just a reminder, as much as we do appreciate your comments, and by all means continue them in the replies if you like. I can't read like 20,000 words. I just can't do it. So I will read the main body of the comment, and if anyone is interested, if the comment has continued, by all means pick up then. I mean, I was making a joke to Mary that I should get like some voice to text program and just put Big Mikey P's comment in there.
Say all of
No, I think that'd be funny. I was going to call him Big Mikey Robot or something like that.
No, his voice is real. Although somebody did say that you were AI once.
Yeah, that was funny.
Like, okay.
If I'm AI, then there's something very seriously wrong with whoever programmed me.
You what?
Yeah. But then again, ChatGPT exists and it churns out a bunch of nonsense, doesn't it? But anyway.
Now, y'all keep doing as many comments as you like, but I was just saying that it was funny because as he was showing me the comment, it was scrolling, and I was like, this is like War and Peace, which I've read a little bit of War and Peace.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Should we get to these comments then? Because otherwise we're going to be here all day.
Sure.
All right, so first comment then is from RJ Productions, who some people will know as Harry Flew TV.
Hola.
Who says, Mr. Freeze is my favourite Batman villain next to Two-Face, Clayface and the Joker. Oh yeah, by the way, this is comments on our last episode, which was about Mr. Freeze and Heart of Ice in particular. Every time I listen to the music box in Davy Jones's theme on Pirates of the Caribbean, I think about the opening monologue from Freeze at the start of Heart of Ice. This is how I remember you, etc. There's a character in my book series starting with My Ex is a Vampire, inspired by Freeze in terms of his motive. We need a good live-action adaptation of Mr. Freeze, either from the new DC Universe or Matt Reeves' Barn as Films. I assume that's a typo. It's hard to believe that the only live-action adaptations of the character are the Joel Schumacher Batman and Robin and from Gotham series. Yeah, I suppose so. Mr. Freeze is an interesting character, though, isn't he?
We like Mr. Freeze.
Yes, yeah. I mean, his motivations. If you go with like the Beat-ass origin of trying to avenge Nora, there's not a lot to do with him afterwards. But what you can do is still very good.
What a jilted man.
Yeah. Next comment is from Lowell Lucas Jr., who says, hey, today it's totally Schway. There's a chill in the air with Victor Freeze, so beware. Poor man's pain equals deep despair. Hey, everyone, thank you all again for the well wishes. I appreciate you all so much for it. It's been hard with the pain I feel, but listening to podcasts with all of your comments warms my big rock-throwing crocodile heart.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be the doctor for a minute. Lowell, just... You don't have to pretend I'm a doctor. I've watched enough Grey's Anatomy to know. I have a few questions for you. Have you tried drinking water? Are you pregnant?
Have you tried losing weight?
Have you tried losing weight? Did you use the medication that you were prescribed 8 years ago?
Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
Yes. And those are all of the questions ladies get asked, just so you know.
Continuing the comment. Also, thank you, Mary, for reading the O'Reilly Auto Parts jingle. It really warms my heart that someone's willing to go the extra mile to give my reference a chance. Then glancing it over, no disrespect to you, Luke. Well, I feel disrespected. I don't know how I will ever recover from this.
Auto Parts.
I'll try that sandwich shop recommendation, as I can always go with something tasty and not Subway sandwich. Gross. Vomit emoji.
Yeah.
Now, on to a chat with Victor Freeze here. What can I say? The man's life is quite tragic. I can feel Victor's pain of losing someone so near and dear to his heart, and having that small, minuscule chance of saving her life was dashed away by a heartless and compassionate entrepreneur. Speaking of which, let's have a chat about Nora. We know she loved Victor, but due to his transformation, he felt he couldn't see her. So she moved on, still showing she was willing to wait to a point. Even her party girl self in the Harley Quinn show was hilarious, as she was masking her pain with raunchy sex and constant drinking while fighting without powers. She never talked bad or ill of Victor, but was trying to forget her loss. What makes this funny is that while Maxie Zeus was merely a fling, she ended up with Swamp Thing. Kind of shows she would love Victor even in his cold storage self. If only Harley didn't misinterpret Victor's intentions and cause his death. Spoilers for the Harley Quinn show that Mary hasn't watched.
That's okay.
Ultimately, we never... Oh, God, I need to watch the 5th season. I just remembered. Ultimately, we never truly know how Nora was before, especially since Bruce Timm and Paul Dini intended her to be dead. I will say with Victor's vengeance, she must have been someone so spectacular in his life that he's willing to watch the whole city freeze over. Also, Luke, thank you for talking about Spectrum. I truly thank Spectrum Animation for their remarkable details and quality craft put into every detail. It's that kind of work that is truly timeless and something wondrous that should inspire artists like myself and not resorting to AI as a crutch. Very fitting considering what we were talking about earlier. To end, thank you all again, and Luke for reading the tome. Luke, I did subscribe to your Awesome Comics channel, as I do enjoy all of your and Mary's contents. I tried joining the membership but was having difficulty with registering with Google. Is there another way? I'm afraid not. I do everything through YouTube.
Do you want to know something funny? I'm a member to another channel, I had an issue with that because for some reason it thought I was in a different country, but it wasn't the States. So I don't know what's going on with Google, but I did eventually get it done. I think you helped me.
I don't recall.
You literally just pushed a button for me and then it worked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also, just a heads up, I highly recommend you all check out a Goofy movie documentary on Disney Plus, More Than a Goof. Not only does it include every rumour, YouTube short and obscure factoid on the film's history, it confirms every irritating feeling of dread by Katzenberg, who makes he scream his name in anger, much like David Zaslav's constant slashing of animation projects at Warner Brothers. Oh, makes me. I assume that was a typo. Katzenberg. I don't know who that is. Sorry. Curse you, greedy executives. Oh, well, that's answered that question then. But yeah, thank you for your comment, Lower Lucas Jr. I know you referred to it as a tome, but it's actually quite short compared to most of the other ones, so no worries.
I know what a tome is because of The Sims.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Next comment is from Carlos1234 Iffy, who says, I love these videos. I love comments like this. Nice and short. We can move on to the next one.
We love you. And by the way, I'm going to write an epic.
You better not.
Yes, I will. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to make you read it. And you're going to enjoy it.
Okay, well, on to the next comment from SR Striker, who says, well, I think that Mr. Freeze's actions in Heart of Ice is justified, as it would be the 6 words. 1, I. 2, don't. 3, want. 4, 2, 5, here. 6, it. As if he went to the police if Gordon was or not the commissioner at the time, they believe all of Boyle's lies, and he would get arrested for being blue, just like how Ethan Bennett was treated when he was becoming Clayface, and in the Meltdown episode everyone still treated him like an outcast after he was cleared, which is no doubt that Chief Rojas manipulated the media. As this is a nitpick, I thought that in the court that someone would have brought up the news footage of Ethan pointing out Rojas' hypocrisy, as he did nothing. And it's just the status quo. This is why in Freeze's mind, he has to take matters into his own hands, because he's like that Frankenstein's monster in an apathetic world that doesn't accept him, like Megatron from Transformers 1, as he is convinced that Orion Pax isn't going to work because everyone loves Sentinel Prime, and it would be nothing more than a political attack, just like Lisa Simpson finding out about the truth about the founder of Springfield. That was a very long sentence.
How do I know about the Transformers plot?
I don't know about it, so
I
it's a
knew
mystery.
what they were talking about. I was like, yeah. I don't know. My stepdad must have watched it when I was like in the room or something.
So when is the villain's actions justified? Like, you don't think Damian Anderson from Creed 3 were even, though it was partly Adonis's fault that he was helping him out and he went to jail for it? We watched Creed 3, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that film. Creed films are good.
Yeah, they're really great.
Remember in Mr. Freeze, been the most vengeful video. Oh, that's one of my videos. I said about Sub-Zero and how the blood type thing was flawed because he didn't say that was in Gotham or nationally, as this was the same as the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, as this is why Osborn wanted to poop on Peter's life, all because of blood we don't even know would work. And like in the PS4 games, Freeze is almost like Norman Osborn in the PS4 games, as they were going to trade on one life to save another, but with its only one, while Norman ruined a few others like Dr. Octopus and Martin Lee just to keep one person immortalized. And I get why Spider-Man isn't trying to get them justice and letting the guy who ruined their lives go free, like nothing happened. And he got Kingpin earlier, and he was an elusive person. About the absolute Mr. Freeze, he looks like the Wendigo from Until Dawn games, and I wonder what he will be like in Cape Crusader series, as it was Paul Dini's idea that he was a tragic character, as he was originally just a mad scientist who robbed banks with a cold gun, and the 2004 version and Brave and the Bold were just mustache-twirling villains. Well, yes, who knows if he even will be in Cape Crusader. On Cape Crusader front, James Tucker was recently in Korea visiting the studio that is animating Cape Crusader.
So, does he know that I'm available for
voice acting?
Voice acting?
I think they've recorded all the episodes now that everything's getting animated.
What about season 3?
I don't know if Amazon have renewed it for season 3 yet. I hope they do, because it's very good.
Yeah, me too.
Next comment is Ryan Jones. Don't laugh at Ryan Jones.
I'm laughing at that. I'm laughing at the fact that I'm like, I'm gonna get a job one day with this. Don't laugh at
Don't worry, Ryan. She's not really laughing at you. I was just playing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Ryan Jones says, "Hello, Luke and Mary. I've been really excited for the Mr. Freeze episode. He's one of my favourite Batman villains, not just from the animated series, but in general. He's in the top 4.
Can I ask a question, Ryan?
You just did.
What are your thoughts on Arnie?
He might say so in the comments, so I'm just going to keep reading.
I'd like to know.
This episode of Batman the Animated Series taught me how to properly handle grief, depression, and that you should always seek justice, not vengeance. Oh, don't get me started on the Walt's frozen head conspiracy theory. The only people that can think of that would believe that one of my idol's head is frozen are the idiots that believe that coronavirus was fake. You're right about DVDs sometimes breaking, Luke, but I will always prefer physical media because 1, you can always replace them if they break, and 2, streaming services sometimes remove movies and shows from their platform, and if the series or movies didn't have any physical media release, they're gone forever. It's literally encouraging piracy. Well, yeah, the same thing happened to Infinity Train, didn't it? Got removed from Max. Now it just doesn't exist anymore. Unless you know how to find it. Not saying I do, though. Speaking of physical media, do you think that VHS will make a comeback, Luke? If vinyl records can make a comeback, why can't VHS? I know I would be happy.
No.
So
absolutely not.
The reason why vinyl made a comeback is, 1, they came in very attractive packaging that was kind of small, or at least thin. And people argued that vinyl has superior sound quality. Personally, I can't really tell the difference. I just don't have the ear for it. But VHS, I don't think it will ever be widely resurrected because they're so clunky and bulky.
Yeah, and a lot of times with VHS, no matter where you stored it, sometimes within a couple of months, if your room was too hot, you'd play it, and then you'd get that stupid skip thing or the glitch thing, and it's like, I live in Oklahoma. It's gonna get hot. I can remember the last time I watched a VHS, and I'm not a violent person. I'm not a violent person, but I did take apart the entire VCR for the third and final time, and I didn't even bother putting it back together because it deserved to be in pieces.
So just to continue Ryan's comment, he says, "Mary, I'm glad you don't watch reality TV anymore. It is absolutely rubbish, and the people that do reality TV are nothing more than talentless little bleeps."
That's right.
And for some reason, Celebrity Big Brother is still a thing, or as I like to call it, a show for bottom-of-the-barrel celebrities. May is also my birthday month.
Yeah. Gemini? Question mark?
To Mary, and here's a suggestion for an episode of Totally Schway. After Granny Goodness, you should do one about Supergirl.
We might be doing something like that in a month that's coming up soon in something that starts with a
Julius Caesar.
Jupiter.
Oh, yeah. But thank you for your comment, Ryan. Yeah, we probably will talk about Supergirl at some point.
We will. And we'll talk about we're doing a thing in July where I believe he hasn't agreed to it, but I've told him what we were doing. We're doing a Superman month. I don't know so much on Luke's main stuff, but yeah, you'll definitely have a couple videos from me.
And it's podcast themes as well.
Yeah, so it'll be great. If Supergirl will be one of them.
Okay, so next comment is from Big Mikey P, Michael Andre Parlon, who says, I'm trying to be happy myself, but yeah, my place is starting to swelter too. Fittingly ironic, considering the subject matter here. Cackle, cackle. Already we rewatched and reliked for the comics channel, but alas, cannot remake the lost comments. Yeah, well, I appreciate your efforts anyway.
We love y'all.
Mr. Freeze's DCAU arc can be overrated, but I'll admit Heart of Ice shall stay a strong standalone. Cannot belittle Arkham Origins for having its own remake of it. For once, we really need an unconditionally good and benevolent businessman character in the fictional work like Beatas, and no, Bruce Wayne doesn't count because he's not a mere mortal/side character. Ferris Boyle is such a letdown for being too cliche and unreal by not being a subversion because plot. 1248. Meanwhile, other animated characters like the real and extreme Ghostbusters Egon and Non Bioris Renge have quite the emotional range despite their flat effects. Speaking of, Mark Hamill did well as English dub Muska in Castle in the Sky. 1708. Oh dear, so much history lost if the fires did consume them. 20 minutes and 1 second, excuse me. Pity, if it were me, I'd love to add such extra details because I know audiences would appreciate the effort. Alas, for budget problems, if not unwise laziness. Justice for Spectrum Animation. Rage against ACOM, still surviving as of writing this. Meanwhile, can forgive Dong Yang. Purple is quite an eye-catching colour, and of course characters who have it as their visual aesthetic will be equally eye-catching. In TMS's defence, at least Animaniacs could still be worth transferring to. Also, there's still quite the anime production powerhouse back in the 90s, and they can't take risks getting swamped by such work. Wonder if Sean Catherine Derrick would have fit well on X-Men Spider-Man Exo Squad. Funny enough, she did write for both. I think she did both X-Men and Spider-Man, but she definitely did one of them. And I think it might have been X-Men, actually. But yeah, she did write for some of the Marvel episodes. Marvel shows, I should say.
Crossover.
Callous. That was Big Mikey P's comment. Sorry, callous, not you.
Saying me, I was like, what's so callous about crossover?
What an apt word that runs well on the mouth. Not mentioned by Luke and Mary. Batman's "my God" reaction sure is shocking then and even now. Yes, one of the few times where they were allowed to say God. 3316. Let's also not forget Roger Craig Smith's "Take a seat, humanitarian" line from the aforementioned Origins. Gotta love that glorified expansion pack for Arkham City, and its real nice Arkham Shadow made it its prequel, excuse me. Pertaining to Mary's talk about loving to rewatch shows, I'm going to do the same for Girls and Panzer in preparation for Das Final 5, maybe later this year. And hey, Luke, Lowell's Rhymey Wimey is truly totally Schway.
I am going to write down a lot of the recommendations and the shows that you have spoken about, Big Mikey P. And I'm going to ask my niece if she has watched them, and she's probably going to sit there and tell me about all of it. She's Japanese, by the way. Have I mentioned that?
Yeah, well,
yeah. She's going to be like, yeah, you should watch this.
She's going to say, no, don't watch that garbage.
Oh, whatever. Don't listen to him, Big Mikey P.
It's not me, it's her.
He's just jealous that he doesn't have time to watch things.
True. Speaking of the Jurassic Park films, I admittedly have a soft spot for the second and third films, though they're inferior to the first one. Sure, the former ain't faithful to Michael Crichton's novel, and the latter may be cheap at places, but the T-Rex's city rampage and Spinosaurus's persistency in hunting the protagonist respectively are guilty pleasures, among other notable scenes. Sorry, Luke, you didn't say Dakar proper. Accents on the da, at most. Is that? Oh, I don't know. Don't think I've seen my fair share of Jay and Silent Bob. Well,
That's okay. It's
that
not
is
for
okay.
everyone.
No.
It's definitely not for everyone. So if I were to watch it now for the very first time, wouldn't be for me. But as a teenager, or going into being a teenager, it was funny.
So where was I? I've lost my place in the comment. 48 minutes and 51 seconds. Still slow, but I've already passed the part where John Ridd went to London. Also reread all of Anne of Green Gables. Alas, I do not have the Boom sequels. They're hard to collect. Meanwhile, I may want to watch the Isao Takahata directed 1978 anime adaptation in full for the first time in my life later on. But it'll be on the original Japanese, not the maybe superlative South African English dub. He's written South African in a strange way. South African. And yes, that means the adaptation alongside the likes of Heidi Girls of the Alps, 3000 Leagues in Search of Mother, and Future Boy Conan is a Proto-Studio Ghibli work, much like Castle of Cagliostro and Nausicaa. Any plans for exploring the Mr. Freeze Spotlight tie-ins via the holiday special Gotham Adventures, Batman Adventures 2003, and the Elseworld-ish The Adventures Continue? Not on the main channel, because anytime I put a comics video out, people go, oh, don't want to watch that, and then YouTube interprets that as nobody wants to watch any of my videos. But maybe on the comics channel, maybe.
On your comics channel, are you going to talk about the Pride covers that I've collected?
I wasn't planning on it.
I'm just kidding. I could do something on my channel if I ever sit down and make a video.
Any plans for... Oh, no, we already talked about that, didn't we? Like the new look enough, Harry. Heard there's latest critical backlash against Thor Ragnarok, though, especially with how Taika Waititi flubbed with Love and Thunder. Not helping is that his planned Disney Star Wars project seems to be canned because of reports of his tumultuous campy direction. Julia Shaw is woefully over-exaggerating, thinking that the Absolute Universe is entirely Scott Snyder's baby. To be fair, he is the main architect, and he oversees a lot of it. But by overseas, it's more just like he hosts their Zoom calls and goes, yeah, these ideas are great, do it.
Like a creative director. So, and no, actually, I take that back.
At least that's my understanding based on interviews I've read and videos I've watched. Anyway, still don't understand the BAFTAs awarding Criffing Shenmue, though. The game series is now already a hype failure, so why should it still get pundits when games like Doom, Half-Life 1 and 2, and even Super Mario Bros. Minecraft and Tetris even got put in lesser spots? 1 hour, 7 minutes and 25 seconds. All great movies. Capsaicin is capsaicin. Okay, fine. Interesting that the New God Saga dire conclusion is on a novel. Well, it's a graphic novel, not a novel itself. It's Stanley. Jeez, Jack Kirby was very much interested in advancing the comic book medium. Through most of his life, he wanted to do a comic book novel, and he kind of helped birth the term graphic novel. DC did a series of graphic novels in the mid-80s. And one of them was that War Dogs, New Gods conclusion. 1 hour, 18 minutes and 58 seconds. Luke Lamana of Bedtime Stories also loved and highly recommend its sister channels, Wartime Stories and Unclassified Encounter. 1 hour, 22 minutes and 37 seconds. I never ever grew on Doctor Who. Sure, I like some elements like the Doctor's numerous identities and the Weeping Angels, but it just wasn't as enjoyable and, dare I say it, completely explorable as Star Wars Legends. Honestly, I cannot stomach the idea of trying to check out its hard-to-watch 1960s content and hunger for those numerous plot-important lost tapes and episodes. Andor does make me curious, but if they make one or few foolish shout-outs to flawed works like Kenobi and the Books of Boba Fett, then I'm out. Disney's Star Wars big failing is never decanonizing its trash and trying to salvage with fix? Oh, okay, yeah. Fix. And Legend did with works like the Hand of Thrawn duology to compensate for the Crystal Star and the Jedi Academy novels, and the Darth Plagueis novel. For one, it made midi-chlorians quite a likeable concept. Can agree with the sheer imbecility of MTV and reality TV, though. Would like to do Oliver Cromwell rump Parliament bans against them. Okay. and if anyone be he these fools like the Kardashians. Oh, I see what he's trying to say. Do show me their noggin. No, we're not reading that bit out. All right, we'll await the Granny Goodness video. Thank you as ever for your massive comment, Big Mikey P. To be honest, you've said so much that I don't think I will actually be able to comment on any more of it because I can't remember it. And that is the real problem with lengthy comments. I forget half of what I've read out within about 10 seconds.
What?
All right, next we have Doc Widener, who says, thank goodness you're here. Maybe now that it won a BAFTA, Mary will play it. Very little chance.
I am going to play it.
Yeah, you've been saying that for months.
I will play it.
I am on the flip side, wrong week weather-wise. Cold here has been around 32 degrees Fahrenheit in these evenings here in the last few days, which is doing a number of things like wild daffodils and lots of rain, which we have needed. But it made mowing along the road yesterday a pain because before it got cold, it was nearly 80 a few days, so the grass had taken off. So I decided to fire up the mower yesterday. Since we bought part of the Mrs. Parents' farm, I used their zero-turn mower. But it had been in one of the barns of the for the winter, and the battery had drained. I got it started, it ran out of gas. When I went to the barn where her dad stores the gas, but he hadn't got any yet this year, so I went into the village and got 10 gallons. Got back, but the battery was still not charged enough to start it on its own. So being impatient, I jumped it again with the charger to get it started. All good, right? No, the mower hit a muddy section of the incline along the road and slid down and got stuck in the ditch. I was mowing along the road because Sergey doesn't like mowing that section for a few reasons. Mowing at an angle, needing to keep an eye out for passing traffic, and because if wet, then the bottom of the ditch is easy to get stuck in.
Yeah.
I thought I was high enough up, but once the slide started, I knew it was stuck, and because I jumped the mower to get it started, I didn't want to turn it off. I knew it would not be able to get it started. I knew I would not be able to get it started again right away because I had not run it long enough to get the battery charged. I had been mowing less than 10 minutes before it got stuck. I had to hook a chain to it and use one of our vehicles to pull it out. Probably should have waited, but if it gets too high, it'll take forever to mow. To add to the complication, the boys had went into town for something, so I had to wait for them to get back, since I really wanted to have Sergey drive the pulling vehicle and me to stay on the mower. It was dark by the time we got it out. Had not started until early evening, so not that long, but without the mud, would have been able to get the quarter mile or so of the road yard mowed. This was my reaction to the first 40 seconds of your video. Hopefully less verbose for the rest. Please. Partway through the rewatch of your comics videos on the new channel, trying to watch, comment, and like each video as well as like other folks' comments.
They're doing better than I have with that channel.
Well, it's because I'm regularly churning stuff out.
I should probably go and like, comment, share. Well, I've already subscribed, but...
I was originally just going to let it run overnight, but wanted to do the other parts as well. Did you guys time this to go with the new Absolute Batman's Mr. Freeze, or was it a happy accident? Complete accident.
Because I picked it, didn't I?
Yeah, these podcasts, we don't really plan them out ahead of time. I tried to do it once, but...
I kept changing it.
Yes, I'd say, all right, this week we're going to talk about Granny Goodness. You're like, no, I don't want to talk about that. We'll talk about something else.
It's a bad example, because I would always talk about Granny Goodness.
Speaking of happy accidents, the first episode of season 7 of Black Mirror used the phrase and was for some folks too spot on to reality. Haven't finished this season yet. I wanted to finish that 42-hour video, which chewed up a lot of my time even listening at 1.25 speed. I will say I've enjoyed the first 4 episodes, especially Common People, the first episode, and Hotel Reverie, which strikes me as an episode Mary would enjoy. Looking forward to the USS Callister because getting to see Kristen Milotti again. Mary also enjoy Bête Noire because she may identify a bit with Verity. Yeah, we watched the first couple of seasons of Black Mirror and it just kind of fell off.
Again, it's when Netflix started to, well, not just Netflix, a lot of like streaming services just started to churn out more and more, and I just couldn't keep up. But I did like it.
I'm tempted to take a picture in front of the local O'Reilly Auto Parts in Lancaster. It's next to the YMCA, so they do still exist. 23 minutes and 20 seconds. I feel like Mary is trying to tell Luke something about this shade of purple is appropriate if he's looking for a gift to her. As husbands, we're all in this together. Oh, yeah, don't worry. I know.
It's on a Google document.
Is British Mother's Day in March/April? Here in the States, it's the second Sunday in May. Yeah, it's in March, I think, near the end of March.
Yeah, I think, isn't Father's Day the same, though?
It is the same, yes. Sorry you didn't like season 2 of Severance as much as season 1. Well, are you Ben Stiller? I think that the Cobell episode did drag a bit at the start, but built nicely at the end. I think it would have been served by a B plot of Miss Huang that might have helped provide parallel.
Yeah.
I found the ending reminded me of a lot of films that showed up on Fritz, The Night Owl, or Superhost when I was a kid. Omega Man, Planet of the Apes, Logan Run, etc. that always end with an at best ambiguous ending, though usually it was an unhappy ending. Felt the same way about Severance. I did like certain visual elements this season of giving Helena what might be considered a forced baptism to allow Helly to be born again. I also thought the episode about Gemma was also beautifully filmed. Yeah, I really enjoyed that episode. That was really good. They are very clever in a lot of their filming choices, and I find Milchek to be perhaps the most interesting character, dealing with the racism of Lumen and yet still being a company man. It was nice to see the real reason they wanted Gwendolyn Christie. Yes. I, too, have never been to a comic shop without a section of high-priced books. Best of luck to Screamwiper and his new friend. Been trying to get my oldest nephew and co-worker's daughter to maybe go out on a date. May have commented on this last time. Checked. Nope. You did write it at one point. I remember reading it out. He says, after 5 minutes ago, saying he can't remember what he says after 10 seconds. May write more of this later, but Sergei summed up their courtship with effing millennials. They are 27, soon to be 28, and 26. And near the tail end of the generation, Sergei is Gen Z. More later, but Sergei, who came out near the end of high school, has dated more women than the two older male cousins combined. And that's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
And the older one I'm trying to help is 7 years older than Sergei. Sergei is just flummoxed that they are so bad at this. Michael Dolan is spot on about reality TV and put it better than I ever have. May birthdays. The missus is May 3rd. Sergei, May 23rd. My sister-in-law, mother of the aforementioned nephew, is also a May birthday.
So Sergei is a Gemini. For whatever that means. I'm just like, somebody's the same as me.
As always, enjoyed our brunch. Finished the video and most of the comments before leaving for PSR, and the birthday stuff came up on the drive-in, so standing in the cart area of Kroger, typing away instead of shopping. What an excellent use of your time.
I've never been to a Kroger before.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know that I have then. I thought I had, but maybe not.
I'm trying to think. Like, I don't think I have. I've been to a Publix.
Yeah.
And we in Oklahoma, we had Crest. We had Little Crest and we had Big Crest. And I think they were like a mile apart.
Yes. I remember going to the Crest. They had big sandwiches for relatively low prices.
Yeah, they were great.
I can't say the same these days. I doubt their prices are as low as they were in 2008 and 2017. Anyway. Next comment is David Carney, who says, "Hi Luke and Mary, love Heart of Ice. It's the best Mr. Freeze story in any Batman media for me. Wasn't a fan of what they did to Nora in the comics during the year of the villain storyline. That's where she became Mrs. Freeze. Michael Ansara's voice is who I hear when reading Mr. Freeze. Have a good week, both of you." You too, David. Thank you very much for your succinct comment. He said comic then. Comics on the brain. Okay, next we have Screenwiper, who has broken his comment up into a couple of chunks, but they're small, so I'll allow it this time.
Allow it. I will make him read it.
Well, you know, the rule is we're only supposed to read one comment from one person.
You do as many as you want.
So I will read one comment from Screenwiper that said at 35 minutes and 27 seconds, "Aw, I like Steve Smith." Moving on.
Shut up.
I'll read the other part.
You better read the rest of them.
Right, he said at 12:44. He said at 12:44, "That's a good Mr. Freeze impression, Luke. Fun tip, try it talking into a tankard. Can't be a regular pint glass because you need a handle to stop your hand preventing the vessel from vibrating. I use a tankard for when I do my impression of Nolan vs. Bane."
That's the one with the handle, isn't it?
Yeah. 3936. Yes, I have seen Return to Oz, though not for well over 30 years, so need to watch a clip to jog my memory of Belina the talking chicken. Thanks for the tip. The chickens don't really talk to me in full sentences or with a wide vocabulary. Well, I'd be concerned if they did. E.g., they don't have different words for different food treats. They're all called the same thing, which is frustrating when they fancy something specific and I'm trying to guess what it is. That seemed to actually be all the comments from Screen Wiper, so maybe he hasn't had the chance to do the chicken update as of recording time, so we might miss it this time. Alternatively, the comment has just vanished into the ether of YouTube, which sometimes happens. I left a comment on a video recently and it vanished almost immediately. And I thought to myself, did they delete it? Why would they delete it? And so quickly? No, it must be YouTube messing up.
Of course, it would never be that somebody doesn't like you.
Well, I'm not saying that. It's just that I'd posted it and it was gone within like 5 seconds.
My hair won't straighten out.
Well, you need to get comfortable because we have the last comment, which is spread over 2 comments, and I'm afraid it's too long to read it all, Michael Dolan, so I'll read the first part at least.
I mean, you are going to read it, but maybe not out loud.
Yeah, I mean, I have read it.
Okay.
That's how I know it's too long.
Oh, shush.
But I will read the first chunk of it out here, and if anyone else is interested in continuing the rest of it, by all means, read Michael's reply to his own comment and pick up the rest of it there. So Michael Dolan says, "Ahoy, Luke and Mary. Fitting that you should be feeling unpleasantly warm temperatures when you're about to be discussing Mr. Freeze. I've been watching and enjoying your comics-based videos, so I've subscribed to the new channel. Thank you very much. I suspect it isn't a matter of your audience not liking them, but rather a desire to avoid spoilers. I know that if not for my eye condition that makes reading comic-sized print painful, I'd have avoided them until I could find the time to read them myself. It's also why I avoided your Cape Crusader-based videos until I finally accepted that I wasn't going to be seeing the series on my own anytime soon, and I'm finally going back now to listen to your X-Men 97 podcast on Mary's channel for the same reason. Putting them on separate Here There Be Spoilers channel should improve the situation." Yeah, I mean, a lot of the feedback, there absolutely have been people that said, "Oh, I was going to hold off on watching these until I read the comics myself." But when you see that I've got, 50-something thousand subscribers and only about 8,000 people watched the announcement, of which 2,000 moved over, I think it suggests that the majority generally aren't interested.
I had things to do. I was watching something else. I vacuumed once last year. Those are my excuses, and I apologize.
No, it's fine. It's fine. And like I said in that announcement video, I'm not trying to guilt anyone into doing it. I'm not going, "Oh, nobody loves me." I don't mind. If you're not interested in one of the things I'm talking about, don't watch it. It's fine. Not a problem at all.
I watch them when I do the subtitles.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that doesn't count as a view, but oh well, it's fine. I've lost track of what I was talking about, so I'm going to go back to the comment. So, Michael Dolan, who says, "Nora's silence and immobility symbolises not just the loss of the one good thing in Victor's life, it also represents her own loss of agency. More on that later. The Mr. Freeze costume in Beat-Ass is another masterpiece designed by Mike Mignola, creator of Hellboy, and is awash with diesel punk and 1940s and 1950s mad science. And that's mad science with a capital M and a capital S and an exclamation point. The bell jar helmet, rather than a traditional spherical fishbowl worn by Mr. Zero in the comics, subtly symbolises Victor's existence as more of a preserved specimen than a man trying to move on from his tragedy." That's an excellent point, a great observation. Also, while I wouldn't normally endorse the purple, it's also a colour associated with all things sombre and solemn, and coupled with the equally sorrow-themed blue and grey palette, works far better for this version of the character than the fiery red and yellow jumpsuit from Mr. Zero's first appearance. And again, the late Michael Ansara simply is and will always be Mr. Freeze as far as I'm concerned. He was also Captain Kang, my favourite of the Klingon scene in the original 1960s Star Trek. In the episode Day of the Dove, the Enterprise crew and the crew of Kang's battlecruiser are trapped together by a bodiless alien being that uses its psychic powers to trick the two sides into fighting each other so it can gorge itself on all the resulting anger, hate and rage. When Kang is made to understand that he's being manipulated and that working with Kirk and company is the only way out, he intones the line, "Only a fool fights in a burning house," in that unmistakable voice of his. He even came back to play a much older Kang in the episode of Deep Space Nine in the 90s, complete with an updated ridged forehead, makeup and lion's mane wig, taking the character out in a blaze of glory. Let us raise a cuppa to him as well. But yeah, this episode and Paul Dini's version of Mr. Freeze have resonated with me for decades. Since this episode was released fairly early in the series run, he's really the first of Batman's tragic villains and the template for all the rest to follow. Absolutely. Alan Burnett pretty much said as much himself. When he got Paul Dini's script for Heart of Ice, he was like, "Stop the press! This is the direction we're going with everything." Indeed, since Victor's only crime were out of desperation to save his one true love, he's even more sympathetic, especially given the events of Deep Freeze and Sub-Zero, where he stops himself from committing terrible acts for no other reason than he could never bear to see the disappointment in Nora's eyes were he to go through with them. Paul Dini wrote a Mr. Freeze one-shot comic when the Batman and Robin film came out to enshrine this version in DC Comics canon, and it's full of amazing moments. There's a scene of Victor as a child freezing butterflies in an ice cube tray so that they could be safe and beautiful forever. As someone who has struggled with depression since my age was in the single digits, the scene of Victor's father announcing that the only thing wrong with their relationship is that he hasn't completely beaten the individuality out of his son to make him completely obedient hits uncomfortably close to home. When young Victor watches from his dormitory window as all the other students at the boarding school go home to be with their loving families for Christmas and realizes that his isn't coming for him, he has the line that I made my relationship status ever afterwards. Single? Taken? No. I was doomed to live outside humanity, a lonely observer in a world whose warmth would never touch me. That's very sad. There's the scene where Nora takes the shy and awkward Victor ice skating for their first date. Victor says, "I've never done this before." Nora says, "It's easy, it's just like dancing." Victor responds, "I've never danced before either." Then Nora pulls him in close and kisses him. I don't blame Freeze for bolting himself into refrigerated armor and going on a march to avenge her. As Freeze says in Heart of Ice, "Oh yes, Batman, I'd kill for that." There are some bits in the Gotham Adventures tie-in comics that go further to support this view of Freeze, such as when Grant Walker escapes from his frozen prison and kidnaps Nora's new husband, Dr. Francis Danjou, while seeking a cure. Victor joins the Bat family to rescue Danjou without ulterior motives, simply because he's Nora's husband and she loves him. In a later issue, Nora angrily leaves Danjou. I need to Django then. Ugh. Nora angrily leaves Danjou when she discovers that he's been hiding Victor's letters from her and that he's tried to frame Victor for the murders of both Boyle and Walker, so she'll stop pining for him. I absolutely adore the idea that Nora is just as willing as Victor to turn all creation upside down to get him back when he's lost. But then not every sympathetic villain is there for the audience to root for their redemption arc. Sometimes a sympathetic villain is there to remind the audience how terrifyingly short a walk can be from "Boyle dealt me a dirty hand and deserves what's coming to him" to "This terrible thing happened to me and how dare the rest of you not have to suffer through it too." I think that's why DC has pulled back from the sympathetic in recent years and emphasised the villain part. Clancy Brown's Mr. Freeze in The Batman never mentions Nora beyond the Easter egg of a photo briefly seen in the jewel thief Victor's car before his cryogenic mishap. I'd also like to point to the Batman Snow limited series, which revamps events to reveal that the reason Gothcorp cut Victor's funding was that they had already stolen his tech and weaponized it with the intent of selling it to the military. So Victor steals the prototype armor and freeze gun right back and uses it as his Mr. Freeze gear. In his first fight with Batman, the stray shot goes wild, shattering Nora's cryotube. In this version, Nora is unequivocally dead, despite Victor's attempts to put her back together like a jigsaw puzzle from frozen meat, with a few pieces unaccounted for. I still get the heebie-jeebies from the image of a partially reassembled Nora, with her right foot sitting at the end of the table next to her left. But there's a good 6 inches of right leg between the ankle and the knee that hasn't turned up yet. This Victor is quite delusional, seeing visions of Nora as an empress on a frozen throne, commanding him to avenge her, and blaming Batman because he simply cannot face the truth that Nora's death was entirely his own fault. If you'd like to hear more of Michael Dolan's thoughts, then you can read the rest of his comment in his reply. It's an excellent comment, and I would read more of it, but I mean, I have to think of my voice by this point. I can already feel the vocal cords straining. So that's the end of the comment section.
Yeah, We love when you guys comment.
And actually, I'll say one thing from the comment, just one little thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Dolan had nominated Lowell Lucas Jr. for the position of Totally Schway's official poet laureate.
Obviously.
So if you'd like to read more about that, then continue reading Michael's comment. And I'm going to hand over to you now, Mary, to do the rest because my throat's going.
I just want you guys to know how wonderful you are and how absolutely incredible it is to have you guys as friends. You guys and gals. And chickens as well. I love those chickens. And again, I'm gonna thank you for listening and taking the time just to be here with us. It really, really does help my mental health. And sometimes we get a little blue, and it's unfortunate. And then sometimes we need help to get back to the normal life, and I wholeheartedly believe that you guys have helped me do that very recently. So enough with the mush. I love you guys, and next week, or not next week, but the week after next, when we're back.
Next time,
we are going to talk about For the Man Who Has Everything.
Yeah, great episode of Justice League Unlimited that adapts a comic book story written by Alan Moore, although it is part of his work that he no longer attributes his name to because he's mad at Warner Brothers.
And you can hear that and more.
Yeah.
Next time.
I nearly went off and did
that. Yeah. I love you guys. I hope you're having a great Sunday or whatever day you're listening to this. And enjoy whatever weather you're having, unless it's snow.
You can enjoy the snow. Mr. Freeze loves it when it snows. So did Nora.
I'm just fed up with the cold. All right. I love you guys. I'm going to go cuddle my cat.